So what are the best neighborhoods in Atlanta? Well, in this video, I'm gonna give you my top 5 in-town Atlanta neighborhoods of 2022. That's coming up right now. Hey everyone, welcome back to Living in Atlanta. This YouTube channel is all about Atlanta, getting to know the city inside and out to help you and your family make the best decisions possible. My name is Mark and I have a real estate team here in Atlanta called the Living in Atlanta team, and we would love to get to know you more. You can book an appointment with me directly using the link in the description below. Feel free to email, call, text, whatever you want to do. We have people reaching out all the time for us to help them buy or sell a home in the Atlanta area. We absolutely love it when you reach out. So book an appointment with me today. It's free, there's no pressure. It's all about helping you find your place in Atlanta. All right, so my top 5 in-town Atlanta neighborhoods. I figured as we go into 2022, you're doing your research, you wanna have some opinions about what are the hot neighborhoods, what are the up and coming neighborhoods that you should look at first. So I'm gonna give you my top 5 neighborhoods in Atlanta in 2022. Now, before I do that, I wanna tell you what this list is and what it's not. So first of all, we're doing in-town neighborhoods, ITP, or inside the perimeter. I am definitely going to do a follow-up video with OTP, or outside the perimeter neighborhoods. And these would be more like traditional suburbs of Atlanta. So don't worry if you're looking to be a little further away from the city, maybe in an area with better schools. I've got you covered. Look out for that video coming out probably next week. So today we're going to be talking about ITP neighborhoods. Now, do keep in mind, I looked for 2 factors when compiling this list: growth and value. If I would just make your typical top 5 in-town neighborhood list, you'd see the same things on there every year. You'd have Midtown and Buckhead and Grant Park, Edgewood, Kirkwood, Reynoldsstown, Inman Park, all the typical higher end, more expensive areas, which are great areas. And that's what I really want you to hear me say. There are so many fantastic places to live in and around Atlanta. All right, so coming in at number 5, I have Eastlake. Now, Eastlake is a great area with a lot of good value still and a great proximity to some fabulous amenities. Now, before we talk too much about it, for each of these, I'm just gonna show you the map real quick so you can see exactly where we're talking about, and I'll discuss some of the benefits of the geography of the neighborhood. All right, so let's take a look at where Eastlake is. So we have a map of the city pulled up. And remember, we're staying ITP inside the perimeter of 285 today. So I'll zoom in and you'll see Eastlake highlighted here. Here is Eastlake. You see Eastlake Golf Course, which I'll talk about. Very well regarded golf course. But really, this is Memorial here, and that's kind of like a main artery into the city. You know, I use it a lot, so very easy to get in. These are a lot of very popular neighborhoods, so if you need something to do at night or during the day, you know, very close to a lot of great neighborhoods: Edgewood, Kirkwood, Little Five, you know, Grant Park over here. And then, like I'll discuss in a little bit, your proximity to, you know, city of Decatur. And like I'll talk about in a little bit, proximity to the city of Decatur area, very close by DeKalb Farmers Market. And I've mentioned one of the things I do like about being either on the east or west side of the city is you're kind of equidistant, you know, to the airport, not far away. But also, if you want to go up to Lenox or Midtown, somewhere north of the city, pretty similar distance for that. So always nice to be kind of at the equator of Atlanta. But one theme you'll notice with today's video is that all of these neighborhoods will be surrounded by a lot of other great neighborhoods, yet they're not as expensive as the surrounding neighborhoods. All right, so as you can see in Eastlake, you're very much in town. You're probably gonna be relying on Memorial Drive to go into downtown and, you know, out towards the perimeter or Decatur. Now, you've got the Eastlake Golf Course itself here, which is actually quite renowned. There is a PGA event here every year, which shuts down the area. You got a lot of big names in golf. So you literally have one of the premier premier golf courses in the country in this area. You also have one of the best charter schools in the whole city. So if you are concerned about schools, you don't live in the city of Decatur itself, it doesn't mean you don't have good school options. There are actually some fantastic charter school options in Eastlake. Now that is a lottery, okay, so it's not a guarantee, but the option does exist. So one of the best things about the Eastlake area is that you're really in proximity and have the benefits of the Decatur area without the city of Decatur prices. Pretty much anywhere you're gonna be in Eastlake, you're gonna be about 10 minutes to downtown Decatur or less. So I've talked about City of Decatur, all the fabulous restaurants, walkability, plenty of things to do, and it's absolutely beautiful. So, you can enjoy that very easily, get in, get out, and, not have to spend close to $1 million to buy some huge detached home in City of Decatur. So in terms of budget for purchasing a home in the Eastlake area, you can still get by in the 300s. I would say for a more updated, remodeled home, you're gonna be in the high 300s. And once you're in the mid 400s, you're gonna have a larger, updated home. Your dollar will definitely go further here than in some of the adjacent neighborhoods I've been talking about. So, by no means are any of these neighborhoods going to have the $150,000 to $250,000 price tag that we were talking about, 4 and 5 years ago. This is a bit of a new standard for Atlanta, but all things considered, getting this close in town, close to a lot of great amenities, a beautiful golf course, it's a pretty relatively safe area. I don't particularly feel in danger when I'm spending time in these locations. So to get in here in the mid 300s, low 400s with how crazy everything is growing, I think is pretty good. All right, coming in at number 4 on the list, I have Reynoldsstown. Now, Reynoldsstown is probably more of a traditional choice. It's already a little bit more of a heavy hitter in terms of it's established, it's higher end, it's more expensive already. But the reason I have this neighborhood on my list and not some of the other traditional popular neighborhoods in this area is the absolutely explosive growth going on in Reynoldsstown, specifically on Memorial Drive. So Memorial Drive is a main artery for me personally, and if you were to drive down it right now and head through Reynoldsstown, you would see a lot of building and you would see a lot of new things that you wouldn't have seen even just a year ago. So we're talking lots of condos and townhouses as we see throughout Atlanta, but we're seeing new coffee shops, grocery stores, movie theaters, a ton of amenities, and a lot of it's centered around Beltline access in Reynoldsstown. So this is a Beltline neighborhood, which is going to be a huge benefit to your property values and having one of the most popular amenities in the city at your fingertips. It's actually become fairly walkable, which is unique for Atlanta neighborhoods, but you can get great coffee, there's great bars and restaurants, there's a movie theater, there's a Publix. So you do have a lot of great amenities in Reynoldsstown. But of course, because you're right on the Beltline, you can hop on, head north right up towards Inman Park, which is obviously one of the most popular places in Atlanta, or you could head south. Now, it's not all paved as you head south towards Grant Park, but it's still a good walk, and there are a lot of people out active, walking, biking, scootering, running with their dogs. So it's a fabulous amenity. It's always a huge bonus to be in a Beltline neighborhood. Now, Reynoldsstown, like I said, is a bit more expensive. For a single family home, you're definitely going to be looking probably more in the $600,000 to $700,000 range for a detached home. And to be honest, there's not a huge inventory of detached homes. We're talking about a small geographic place. As it grows, a lot of the growth is going to be condos, apartments, townhomes. Most of those right now are being marketed between $400,000 to $600,000, although I have seen some 1-2 bedroom units in the high threes. So, if you're single or you don't mind a smaller place, you can definitely get in here at an affordable price as long as you don't mind an attached option. But it's definitely one of the more expensive options on the list because of all the things I mentioned. Very established, very safe, and really some of the best, most popular amenities right at your fingertips. So before we dive into Reynoldsstown, let's take a quick look on the map to see where we're talking about. All right, so where is Reynoldsstown? Let's zoom in a little bit and you can see we're much closer to downtown Atlanta when we're in Reynoldsstown. Again, technically on the east side, headed towards the east side. And we're talking about Memorial again. When I talk about all the stuff popping up around Reynoldsstown, it's going to be in this location, a lot of apartment and condo buildings, coffee shops, bars, all types of retail, any type of retail that you can think of. And this is the Beltline. So, you've got the Beltline running right through Reynoldsstown. and you can go south towards Grant Park, which is a great time, or you can head north towards Krog Street Market, which is a great time. Inman Park, very popular. So this is definitely more of a higher end established neighborhood, but the absolutely massive growth, especially around Memorial, is the main reason why I put it on the list today. So if you really want a great city vibe, if you want to be in the thick of things in one of the more dense walkable areas in Atlanta, Reynoldsstown could be a great option for you. Probably a little less for families and a little more for single folks, but you know, that doesn't always have to be the case. All right, coming in at number 3 on my list, I have East Point. Now, I know you've heard me talk about East Point. It's one of my favorite neighborhoods to talk about. You hear a lot of negative press about East Point in the news, online, which is one of the reasons I love kind of clarifying and bringing some more truth to how great this area is. Now, before we dive into it, let's take a quick look at the map and see where East Point is located. All right, so where is East Point? Well, we're in the south side of the city when we're talking about East Point. So here you see it. Now the airport, for those of you who don't know, is right here on the southern tip of the city. So obviously, I mean, you're like a 5-minute drive to the airport, which is really convenient if you travel a lot or you happen to work for Delta or somewhere else in the airport. There's a lot of other big businesses over here like Porsche and Chick-fil-A and all kinds of stuff. So depending on what your place of business is, this might be very convenient for you, but certainly convenient if you travel a lot. Now, I will say this is an area that does not have a lot of great neighborhoods surrounding it, or really, it's not going to have the level of amenities as most of the other neighborhoods we're talking about today. Now, I do really like College Park in Hapeville, especially Hapeville is very art-oriented. So there are things to do down here, but if you want to get really nitpicky with the quality of amenities, it's definitely not going to be at the level of some of the other further north neighborhoods that we're discussing today. But like I'll talk about, I absolutely love East Point for a lot of different reasons. So as you can see from the map, one of the main benefits of living in this area is going to be your proximity to Hartsfield-Jackson. Now this is obviously great if you're a pilot or you work at the airport, or if you work at one of the big businesses that are headquartered in this area, in the Tri-Cities areas, which there are a lot of. So it's definitely a great location for a lot of different type of industry, but also real estate investing. Okay, I think this location in particular, because of the proximity to the airport and because of some of the massive developments currently going on, like Aerotropolis and Airport City, again, I think this is an area that's going to increase tremendously in value, and also an area that you could very easily rent out an investment property in, either long-term or short-term. Now, like I've said in previous videos about East Point, and I've made a lot of them, so go check it out. Yes, there are definitely areas of East Point that, you know, have higher drug traffic areas, they have some higher crime statistics, but I really don't think you want to paint with too broad a brush here. Honestly, there are some areas in East Point like Jefferson Park, Peterson Park, that are very family oriented, and I've spent time and walked around. I felt completely safe. We're talking about areas with lots of neighbors out and about, people walking dogs, people out with their kids, talking to neighbors. So there are big pockets of East Point that are active communities where people take care of their homes and look out for each other. So while you do have to be smart about the specific location you plant your roots, I would recommend you don't cross off East Point just because you read a scary article about it. And the reality is the architecture in terms of the style of the homes in East Point is my personal favorite. I look at a lot of homes around Atlanta and I see a lot of the same thing, especially when I think about outside the perimeter and some of the suburbs. You've got these, you know, big brick houses with the office space on one side, the formal dining space on the other. There's a lot of similarities. Well, East Point is definitely not like that. This is an older community. You've got gorgeous, in many cases, 100-plus-year-old homes with, you know, all brick fronts and beautiful brickwork all around the buildings. A lot of times you've got really nice high ceilings, like 8 to 10 feet, like heart of pine floors, which are gorgeous and really rare. You'll have wide baseboards and intricate inlays in different parts of the home. Now that's not always the case, but I do see a lot of that. So to me, East Point has a lot of character, and there's still a lot of value as well. So this is still an area where a budget in the mid to high 300s and certainly going into the 400s can get you a really nice home that's got a lot of character in an area that's very safe. So that is why East Point is on my list. I think it continues to be overlooked in comparison with some of the other hot neighborhoods. So I definitely would check out East Point. I think it's got a lot of character. It's very family friendly in a lot of areas, and it's poised for continual growth over the long term. All right, coming in at number 2 on my list, I have Chamblee Doraville. Now, this is cheating a little bit. These are 2 adjacent areas that I'm kind of combining. And honestly, Doraville actually includes some areas outside the perimeter, but a large portion of his ITP in this area is growing like crazy. Probably the fastest growing area in all of the city, or one of them. But before we get too deep into it, let's go check on a map so you know where I'm talking about. All right, so now we're talking about the Chamblee Doraville area. So we are actually on the north side of the city today. And like I said, right at the perimeter, and Doraville is right here. It extends beyond 285. Like we've been talking about, you're surrounded by fantastic neighborhoods in themselves: Brookhaven, Sandy Springs, Dunwoody, Norcross, tons of things to do, and some of the best food in the city is around this area, which I'll talk about. Certainly if you wanted to head north into Alpharetta, that's not going to be a far drive. So these are all great locations. The schools are going to be pretty good up here. The safety is really not going to be a concern, but it's absolutely exploding in growth, which is one of the main reasons I like it. It's very diverse. So there's a lot of things going for it, but this is where we're talking about when we talk about the Chamblee Doraville area. A lot of times you'll hear people say the Chamblee Dunwoody area, so a little bit interchangeable there, but that's where we're talking about. All right, so you can see with Chamblee and Doraville, we're on the north side of the city, and like most of the other neighborhoods we're talking about, you've got some great neighborhoods that are adjacent to it. So Brookhaven is a fabulous area with a beautiful historic downtown area, and that's just to the west of Chamblee, so certainly you could go spend some time there. Obviously, we're in this part of town. You're very easy to drive to a lot of the shopping districts like Buckhead, very easy drive to Midtown, and honestly, if you want to go explore some of the suburban amenities like the Avalon and Alpharetta, you know, that's not going to be more than 20-25 minutes for you either. Now, the Chamblee Doraville areas have a lot going for it, and there's a lot of factors contributing it to being one of the fastest growing neighborhoods in the whole city. And one of the reasons for that is it is still somewhat a bastion of affordability, surrounded by pretty unaffordable areas. You can still get by in the mid 400s and 500s in this area, and certainly if you're willing to live in an attached home, you can be comfortably in the mid 300s as long as you're okay with a smaller unit. Now, if that doesn't sound super cheap to you, I get it, but you have to understand in this area, those prices do not exist in some of the surrounding neighborhoods. So like a lot of the neighborhoods I'm talking about today, you get to enjoy the benefit of being around some of these great higher end neighborhoods without paying those premium prices. I think the best food scene in Atlanta is in the Chamblee Doraville area. Of course, I'm talking about Buford Highway. If you like ethnic food, if you like getting good value for your money, rather than, you know, some of the big box stores or chains, spending a lot of money on a high-end dinner, definitely Chamblee Doraville area has you covered. Now, another thing the Chamblee Doraville area has going for it is the diversity. This is probably one of the most diverse areas in all of Atlanta. I mentioned Buford Highway and ethnic food. There are larger than normal populations of Asian people, Latin American people, lots of different types of people that I probably don't even know about or fail to mention. There's a lot of diversity in this area. So I know that's important for a lot of people who watch the channel. And that's not to say other areas are areas that you should avoid necessarily, but if diversity is high on your list, then Doraville, Chamblee area is definitely gonna meet those marks. So if diversity is high up on your list for must-haves, you'd need to take a look at this area. All right, so coming in at number 1 on my list of the top 5 in-town Atlanta neighborhoods, I have Mosely Park. All right, so what is Mosely Park? I'd be surprised if you even heard about it outside of me talking about it on this channel. Certainly, if you do a Google search, I don't think you'll see too many articles placing Mosely Park as their top neighborhood. But again, my list is based on growth and value. And I think there's the best combination of that on the west side right now, specifically in Mosely Park. So let's look at the map real quick so you know where we're talking about. All right, so where is Mosely Park, my #1 neighborhood of 2022? As you'll hear me mention, we're on the west side, which is one of my favorite places for anyone, all things being equal, purchasing real estate in Atlanta. I always tell people to consider the west side. And so we're going to talk a lot about the Beltline in this segment. So the Beltline is not pulled up with this map. It's very easy to find though, but essentially it makes a smaller circle within the perimeter. Mosely Park is right here, and this is the Beltline going right here up through, it'll go up towards Morningside. You have Mosely Park right here. So in many places, walkable to the Beltline. You also have, which I don't think I talk about in the next segment, heavy rail, which is a huge benefit anytime you're in the city. So you've got multiple MARTA stations close by, but this is where you're going to see the most explosive growth in the city here in Chamblee. So around the West End, there's all types of incredible amenities already existing right here, and the mall in West End is going to be redeveloped. So this is going to be a very happening place. It already is very happening. In fact, Slutty Vegan, there's always a crazy line wrapped around the block for that. So you can already see the potential. You can see how it's changing, and it has its kind of sister neighborhood in Inman Park, which is actually a little further north up here. And because it's got all this stuff going up, you can just see in the future how it's going to mirror kind of its sister neighborhood, so to speak, on the east side. So Inman Park is right around here, and this is where I'll talk about there's the Beltline, there's incredible amenities, food, shops, retail. So this is a very expensive high-end area, and I just think you're going to see something very similar take place over the next 10 to 20 years in the Mosely Park area, but also there's other good neighborhoods over here as well, whether it's West End or Westlake, I like a lot, Ashview Heights. So there's a lot of good neighborhoods, not just Mosely Park, but the proximity to the Beltline. You can see how in town we are. Downtown Atlanta is right there. So it's an area that's up and coming, where there's still great value, and the future is very bright in Mosely Park. All right, so as you can see, we have a situation on the west side near the Beltline that's very strongly mirroring the situation on the east side. So I don't think it's a big stretch to look out 5, 10, 15 years and see just how popular and expensive the west side is going to be at some point. So the main draw for this area is definitely the Beltline. And outside of the amenity itself, which does connect the city in a way it was not previously connected and offers outdoor walkability and in some senses creates more density, the Beltline encourages amenities built up around it. So already on the west side near Mosely Park, where we're talking about today, you have things like the Lee and White retail district, where there are basically warehouse after warehouse of breweries, distilleries, restaurants, kombucha shops, all along the Beltline, and it's very active all the time, but especially on the weekends. Very similar to what you see in Inman Park, right? If you go to Inman Park, it's happening because there's a lot to do there. It's the Beltline, it's very rich and all that stuff. Well, the west side's like the affordable version of that. So if you can get in there now, I think it's tremendous value. In fact, one of the reasons Mosely Park is on my list is I helped some close friends of mine purchase a home in Mosely Park. They were actually able to find a great place for just under $300,000. That was amazing to me. I really couldn't believe it. Now, if you're concerned about safety, yes, this is an up and coming area. So it's not going to be quite the same as some of the more established higher income areas. Certainly you have pockets all along the west side where there is drug activity, there is violence. Like I've said in many videos, okay, you don't want to give a neighborhood an entire grade like many investors do. Things are very micro in Atlanta, meaning they they change rapidly and drastically street to street, house to house. So you don't want to judge a book by its cover, but overall I think Mosely Park is a safe area. Now the other thing I love about Mosely Park is the incredible history. You've got a lot of people who have lived here for generations, and you've got a lot of history around the civil rights movement tied into Mosely Park. And if you're into diversity, this is another diverse area, certainly an area I think, you know, many different types of people would feel comfortable and accepted in. So for the character, the incredible history, the value, and the incredible amenities, and above all, the incredible appreciation that I expect to see over the next 10 to 20 years, Mosely Park is my #1 in-town Atlanta neighborhood of 2022. All right, so I hope you enjoyed that video. I really hope it provided you some value and just gave you some insight information to help you make great decisions for you and your family. If I didn't cover something, if you want to go over something, again, book an appointment with me. You can just click the link in the description and book a Zoom call with me anytime you want. We love to hear from you. So thank you so much for watching my channel. Please like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.